Welcome to Nebraska Farmcast, a production of the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm Ryan Evans. Since reaching low levels in early 2020, the price of phosphorus and nitrogen fertilizers have increased to their highest levels since 2008 and are expected to continue climbing. And while potassium fertilizer prices have remained lower, increases could be coming in 2022 as well. To discuss what is behind these rising prices and what could eventually curtail them, I am joined by Beghin and Lia Nogueira, both professors in the Department of Agricultural Economics with the Clayton Yeutter Institute of International Trade and Finance here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Together, they have authored a new article on the subject, which is available on our Center for Ag Profitability website, cap.unl.edu. John and Leah, thanks for joining me. Can you first explain more about where fertilizer prices are now and how they compare to historic price levels?
So we have observed a tremendous increase in fertilizer prices from the low prices we observed in 2020. Depending on the type of fertilizer we're talking about, we have observed price increases over 60% since these 2020 low levels, and especially for fertilizers like nitrogen fertilizers that are getting very close to the 2008 levels, which have been the historical highest levels. The phosphorus fertilizers are not yet as close as the high levels we observed in 2008, but they could potentially get there. However, the potassium fertilizers, we haven't seen an increase yet.
So in general, what has factored into these dramatic price increases?
Well, as we are economists, we have on one hand a supply, and on the other hand a demand, and so we have a series of supply shocks and a very strong demand. We also had a series of trade policies in the U.S. and energy policies, which combined have resulted in high prices. And then with COVID, we also had, the well-known logistic problems and transportation problem that, haven't spared the fertilizer industry.
What's been happening with the supply of fertilizer around the world and here in the U.S. to impact its price?
In general, the fertilizer market is characterized by having a few large players or producers, and there have been issues affecting these large producers. In Europe, China, and Russia, we have observed increases in production costs, which have affected their production of fertilizers. Specifically, we had seen natural gas and ammonia prices getting very high in Europe and Russia, and prices for coal in China also rising. That's on the international market. Here in the U.S., Hurricane Ida forced some plants to close, and that decreased the supply for fertilizer within the U.S. So we had supply issues at all levels in some of the largest producing countries for fertilizers.
Great. And how about on the demand side?
Well, we have a strong demand for fertilizer in large countries in China, like China, Brazil, here in the U.S., and so that was driven by the fact that since mid-2019, fertilizer prices relative to crop prices had been low, and so affordability of fertilizer was very good until the beginning of 2021. And in starting this spring, crop prices peaked and fertilizer prices started increasing, as Leah mentioned. And so the affordability of fertilizer started decreasing this spring and has been deteriorating since. And so that's in the context also of other production costs increasing, like transportation, energy. And so all those combined really decreased now the affordability of fertilizer, but historically demand has been quite strong.
And can you explain more about the role of global trade in contributing to fertilizer price increases?
Well, global trade has affected both on the supply side and on the demand side. We have some of these large exporters like China and Russia having export restraints. So limiting the amount of fertilizer that can be exported from those countries. But we also have on the demand side, particularly here in the US, but also in other countries, some import restrictions in the form of anti-dumping and countervailing duties. And specifically for China, since around 2010, imports from China to the US have pretty much been completely priced out because of these anti-dumping and countervailing duties. Recently, there have been both anti-dumping and countervailing duties applied to Russia and Morocco for phosphate fertilizers, and there's pending investigations for Russia and Trinidad and Tobago, but it seems that we could expect some of these anti-dumping and countervailing in terms of nitrogen. Just to explain anti-dumping and countervailing, anti-dumping duties are applied when a country has been proving to be selling below the cost of production, and countervailing are associated with unfair subsidies in the other countries.
And so, John, what's the outlook for fertilizer prices? Can producers expect them to come down anytime soon?
Well, the outlook is not good unless you're on the supply side of the market. And so the World Bank puts out an outlook for commodity prices, including fertilizer prices, twice a year. And the latest outlook in October predicts that phosphorus or phosphate and nitrogen fertilizer prices will remain at their level of 2021. That's for 2022. And then potassium fertilizer prices, which are still low now, are expected to increase by 50 to 60% in 2022. So the outlook doesn't look great for the demand side of the market. And as long as the constraints on export and energy prices remain high, the situation is not going to change. And so nobody has a crystal ball, of course, but that's what the consensus view is.
All right. Thank you both for joining me. Dr. John Beghin and Dr. Lia Nogueira are both professors in the Department of Agricultural Economics and with the Clayton Yeutter Institute of International Trade and Finance here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Again, you can find their new article on what we've been talking about here today on our website at cap.unl.edu. Nebraska Farmcast is a production of the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. For the latest research-based information and education resources to manage your farm or ranch operation, visit our website at cap.unl.edu. That's cap.unl.edu.